This is Lapidus Pour Homme, one of the strongest and most masculine fragrances of the 80s. Do you think you can handle it? Do you think you are prepared?
You are not prepared!
Okay, so maybe that intro was a slight bit on the dramatic side, but I had very much fun doing it, and it's always nice to throw in a World of Warcraft reference in your videos as well. Anyway, welcome to Nordic Fragrance. My name is Tommy. Today I'm going to review a really great fragrance. It's this one right here. It's called Lapidus Pour Homme, and it's basically the smell of the 80s in a bottle. The smell of the 80s, what does that even mean? Does an entire decade have a distinctive smell to it? I myself was very confused about what the smell of the 80s could possibly be like. I had read some reviews before buying this fragrance, and so many of them said that this actually smelled like the 80s. And when I finally got my bottle of Lapidus Pour Homme and smelled it myself, it was totally right. This is how the 80s smelled. When you smell this fragrance, you get instant memory flashbacks of everything about the 80s. Madonna, Michael Jackson on the charts, playing the Nintendo Entertainment Systems. There was hair metal dudes on MTV playing power ballads. There was strong neon colored clothes like pink and green, and the shoulders of the jackets was big, and the hair of everyone was even bigger than that. And in almost every teenage boy room there was a poster of Samantha Fox on the wall. When you smell Lapidus Pour Homme, all those memories, they just flood back over you, and you just remember the 80s. It was such a great decade. So the bottle of Lapidus Pour Homme only comes in one size to my knowledge, and that is 100 ml size. The bottle looks very 80s, very retro 80s and classic. The sprayer works fine, distributes well. A little wide mist though, so it's kind of hard to pinpoint spray on the wrist or something like that. But if you aim for the bigger targets like your chest or something, it's a really great sprayer. Lapidus Pour Homme is classified as an oriental, and the main notes in this one, well, to be honest, there is a lot of notes in this one. It's a really complex fragrance. But if you really are interested in all the individual notes of this fragrance, I suggest you go to Fragrantica and check it out. There are just too many for me to sit here and name. But I will name the prominent ones for you here. So this fragrance is basically built up of the same DNA as many of the 80s masculine fragrances. In the base we have sandalwood and patchouli mix. On top of that there is some tobacco and incense to give it an even more masculine appeal. There are some flowers in the mid of this, like lavender, jasmine and a little bit of rose, but they are not too prominent really. They are just smoothing things out a little. And on top of all this we have two really interesting notes. First off we have the note of pineapple. And together with the incense it creates a kind of a smoky pineapple note, very much like the one in some batches of Creed Savantes. Very beautiful, very smoky pineapple note. And the other interesting note in this fragrance that really makes it stand out from the rest of the 80s fragrances is the honey note. And both the pineapple and the honey notes are not some fleeting top notes that goes away fast. They stick with the fragrance throughout its life, almost until the very end of it. But back to the honey. This fragrance is a very strong and very harsh fragrance, and the honey adds some very much needed smoothness to the overall composition. It doesn't exactly add sweetness to it, because this is after all an 80s powerhouse fragrance for men. There is no such thing as sweetness in those fragrances. Okay, so how do I best describe the honey in this one? Think of something like you are outside barbecuing, you have a really great steak. The steak only tastes like meat. But if you add a thin layer of honey glazing on top of the steak, it will still taste like steak. But you will also get the perception of sweetness from the honey. It doesn't taste sweet, but you get the perception of sweetness to the steak. And the honey in Lapidus Pour Homme works the very same way. It doesn't exactly make the fragrance sweet, but it gives the perception of sweetness to the overall composition. So if I was to try to describe this smell and sum all of this up shortly, this smells like a typical 80s powerhouse fragrance. Think of something like Koros or something. But with the added notes of tobacco, incense, pineapple and honey, it goes in a little bit of a different direction than most other 80s powerhouses. I wouldn't exactly call this one a smooth fragrance, because it isn't. It is a harsh fragrance, but it's a beautiful, harsh 80s powerhouse fragrance. So let's move on to the ratings of Lapidus Pour Homme. So my rating of Lapidus Pour Homme can be nothing else but a perfect 10. Yes, a perfect 10. I have over 100 fragrances in my collection, only 5 of them I consider a perfect 10. So I'm not exactly generous with handing out perfect 10s for my ratings, but this one surely deserves it. I think this fragrance is absolutely beautiful. It's complex, it's strong, and since I was a kid growing up in the 80s, it really invokes some really nice memories to me whenever I smell this fragrance. To my nose, this is an absolute masterpiece, and this is the one fragrance in my collection that I keep reaching for the most. It's especially nice to wear casually at home. You know, like a Friday or Saturday night, the kids are asleep, you are just at home, chilling, having a beer maybe, then this fragrance is absolutely great to put on. I haven't finished a single bottle in my fragrance collection yet, but I bet you guys this will be the first that is finished. Unfortunately, I can't see how much I have left in this one, but as soon as I run out of it, I will guarantee you I will buy a new one. And I will probably wear and cherish this fragrance until I'm an old man. So, to my nose, this is an absolute masterpiece, and I give it a rating of a perfect 10. Next up is the girlfriend's rating, and this is a fragrance that she started out not liking at all. About a year ago, she made the top 10 budget list, if you guys remember that one. If not, please check it out. And she had to smell a lot of budget-friendly fragrances. And I remember Lapidus Pour Homme didn't even make the list for her. She actually considered it one of the worst fragrances out of all the budget fragrances that she smelled that day. But she had gotten used to the smell of this fragrance because it is really strong and I use it really often. And she kind of grew to accept the fragrance, kind of even like it. And as always, when I do a review video, she will blind smell the fragrance in question without knowing what fragrance it is. And when she blind smelled this one, she really enjoyed it. She thought it was a great masculine fragrance and she gave it a rating of 8. So this fragrance has really grown on her over the past year. Next we have the strength rating, and this is an 80s powerhouse fragrance. So this is really strong. It has monstrous projections, it's a room filler and it lasts like forever. This is for sure one of the absolutely strongest fragrances in my entire collection. When I rate the strength of fragrances for my reviews, I usually stop at 12 hours. If it still projects just a little after 12 hours, I consider it a beast mode fragrance. So I'm actually not sure exactly how long this one lasts on skin, but it's more than 12 hours at the very least. And this is also the only fragrance in my entire collection that I've managed to choke myself out with. I remember one day I just put 2 sprays on my chest, went down to eat, and it was so strong when I sat there and eat my food. I couldn't smell the food, I couldn't smell anything, I could only smell this fragrance. So I actually had to stop eating mid-dinner and go to the shower and try to shower it off. And even after I tried to scrub it off in the shower, I could still smell it really clear when I got back to the table to eat again. So this is a fragrance that you really only need 1 spray with. If you are bold, you go with 2, but be warned, you can choke both yourself and people around you out with 2 sprays of this one. So there's really no doubt about the strength rating of Lapidus Pour Homme. It is a 10. It doesn't get much stronger than this one. Next up is the versatility rating, and that is a little problematic for this fragrance. Since it's so strong and so retro smelling, there are really not many occasions that you can effectively use this one. Oh, of course you can wear it on any occasion if you really want to, but I would say that on most occasions there are better fragrance alternatives than this one for sure. The only time and place that I have found Lapidus Pour Homme to be really good and useful is casually at home. So versatility is very low on this one, and I give it a versatility rating of 2. Finally we have the price, and this is just great. This is such an affordable fragrance, a real cheapie. For a 100 ml bottle of Lapidus Pour Homme, you only have to pay about 25 euros or $30 US. That is such a steal for such a great fragrance, in my opinion. So the price is just the way we all want it, really low and affordable, and I give it a price rating of 10. So to sum this all up, would I recommend you guys watching this to buy Lapidus Pour Homme? Yes, I very much would recommend it, since I consider this to be a masterpiece fragrance. but it all depends on what kind of a person you are. If you are watching this and is the kind of person that enjoys fragrances, you enjoy smelling good, and you want to garner a lot of compliments when wearing them, then this fragrance is not for you. I wouldn't consider this to be a compliment getting fragrance. Sure, you can get a compliment maybe now and then, but this one is not really made for getting compliments with. On the other hand, if you really enjoy the art of fragrances, if you enjoy the complexity of fragrances and you want to smell a little different than everybody else, then this is a great buy. So if you are going to get this fragrance or not, it's all depending on what kind of a fragrance person you are really. I personally think this is a great fragrance, but I would not wear this if I was going for compliments, because it is a very strong, harsh and polarizing fragrance. And there are so many better alternatives if you would really want to get compliments. I would probably put on Sauvage or Dylan Blue or something like that. But all the same, I do really love this fragrance, even if it doesn't garner a lot of compliments, because it is a really well blended, well done and different kind of fragrance. So there's really nothing much more to say about Lapidus Pour Homme. It's strong, it's bold, it's masculine, it's the 80s in a bottle, and it's a very different kind of fragrance. And of course, in my opinion, it's an absolute masterpiece. So this was my review of Lapidus Pour Homme. I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. Please support me and my channel by liking and sharing this video. Please feel free to comment. And if you want to be sure not to miss any future review videos or top lists, then please click the subscribe button. And until we meet again, go frag yourselves.